You know, everybody wants to know why people are kind of doubtful about AEW. Now, I've done my thoughts on it so far. I've kind of mentioned why, people have the thought process that they do when it comes to this company. One, this company doesn't even have a show, up and running yet. That won't be until Memorial Day weekend in May, which is a double or nothing. That's the event. And already they do have some matches lined up. In fact, one of the matches that just got announced is what a lot of people projected was going to happen, and that's Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, Part 2. Along with that, we have Hangman Page against Pac, formerly known as Neville, in WWE. We have SoCal Uncensored taking on members of OWE, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment. And we got teased with a few other matches as well. Apparently we're going to get the Young Bucks against the Lucha Brothers. And we might be getting Kaylee Ray against, I think what was the name, Nicole Rosa, something like that, Nicole Rosa. So, probably other matches to happen as well. But, the reason a lot of people are very critical about AEW in the first place, though, it's not just because of some of the things I talked about in the video that I did, kind of giving my thoughts on some of the things that occurred and some of the things that were talked about at the Las Vegas rally. But it's because of the fact that I think it's more about worry. It's more about worry that AEW, despite all the hype it's getting, is going to fall by the wayside. That's going to be just another federation, another promotion that has tried to go up against WWE and fail. Now, some people say that that's not going to happen, that Cody, the Young Bucks, the Khan family will hopefully know better. And I'm hoping they know better too. I'm hoping they kind of realize, hey, we can't go that route. We can't just suddenly go up against WWE. And I think this is why people worry too, because one of the things that make them think AEW might be heading in that direction is because, like I've said, like I've mentioned and others have mentioned, they are constantly, making it known that they want to sign some of the current WWE talent that's on the WWE roster. They want to sign the Revival. They want to sign, believe it or not, possibly Hideo Itami, even though we haven't heard anything on that yet. They want to, sign people that pretty much are being reported to be not happy in their positions right now with WWE. And they want to take advantage of that. And I think that's what a lot of people worry about AEW falling into the same category as WWE. I mean, heck, even what the thing was, I think even what culture wrestling. They even said, look, AEW, don't go and do what a lot of people fear you're going to do, and that's sign WWE talent. Don't go and, just letting my dog out right now. It's like, don't go out there and sign WWE talent just because you hear they're a little frustrated right now in their positions. I mean, woke culture listed that as one of the 7 things that AEW should not do, and that's sign ex-WWE talent. And that would even include eyeing in trying to sign current WWE talent. So to me, these are some of the things that get people worried about the fact that AEW could end up in that same position that a lot of upstart wrestling promotions have ended up in. Now, some people might say, well, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, Combat Zone Wrestling, and now even MLW, Major League Wrestling, have all thrived and survived. Well, here's the thing about that. Ring of Honor never tried to go up against WWE. True, they tried to sign WWE talent, and WWE talent and all that, but they never went up. They never straight up went up against them. Impact Wrestling tried that back in 2010, and it failed. It failed to the point that it's still, as some people put it, still being affected, still affecting the company today. It's still affecting the company today. That's how people are looking at it. So yeah, Impact Wrestling is learning from some of the past mistakes, and since then they have yet to even attempt that. Combat Zone Wrestling has its own, internet service, a part of, I think, part of the High Spots and Title Match Wrestling. And even if they've been on television, syndicated or not, they've definitely made it a priority not to do what everybody else has done, not go up against WWE, even though they have that hardcore ECW-like style. And then you have Major League Wrestling that came out of nowhere, tried to be the ECW replacement itself back in 2002, lasted a couple of years, and then just disappeared, went off everybody's radar, basically went out of business, and then was brought back. It was revived. Somebody bought the company, revived it, because they saw potential. They saw the potential in a company that, if done right, if kind of utilized correctly, could be a very talkative and attractive place for not just wrestlers to go to, but fans to go to as well, because it would be an alternative, but it wouldn't be an alternative that would be going straight up against someone like WWE. So that's why these companies have somewhat survived. Some like Impact Wrestling have made the mistake of going up against WWE, barely survived that mistake, that disaster, and are now learning from those mistakes. The same the same could be said for Ring of Honor, MLW, Combat Zone Wrestling, any promotion that is still thriving and that people want to look at as that alternative to WWE. The reason they are thriving and surviving is them not making that mistake. They're choosing certain nights where they know they won't be up against WWE competition. Now, that might all change come October, which is a fact. A lot of that will change. You can't tell me that Impact Wrestling, Anthem Sports, is not going to look at the fact that, oh crap, Fox is getting SmackDown on Friday nights live. We need to probably change over to Thursdays. You can't tell me that the same goes for MLW, because they have a Friday show, I think. So you can't tell me a lot of these promotions don't realize that WWE is going to be breathing down their necks again, or over-toppling them again with a move to Fridays. And especially with a move to a network like Fox. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that, you know, those companies are not aware of that and are not preparing for that. And again, the reason I bring this up is because this is what a lot of fans are worried about. Because here's what potentially could happen. You see, AEW more than likely, depending on where they land, is going to have Tuesday nights locked up, right? Well, for a time. For a time, they're going to have it locked up. Because there is a report going around that, according to a Fox CEO, SmackDown is not going to be on Friday nights forever. It might just end up back on Tuesdays. Maybe on Wednesdays. We don't know. So AEW has to be aware of that. And that's what a lot of fans worry about. That let's say AEW decides to debut Tuesday Night Dynamite while SmackDown is still on Tuesday nights on USA. And let's say they debut it on TNT. Some people might... I'll put it this way. A lot of fans will jump towards that. They will jump right at watching that. They're going to want to see the premiere episode. But here's the thing. Fans are worried that AEW, even though they'll probably get a massive audience to watch their product, that AEW is going to be broadcasting the pilot episode or the premiere episode, the debut episode, at the same time SmackDown is on. And SmackDown still has a fairly large audience that could pretty much crush AEW's Tuesday Night Dynamite audience. So what fans are hoping that AEW realizes is that if you're going to go on the same night that SmackDown is still on, if you want to debut your show early, you got to make sure it's at a time when SmackDown isn't on. You see, SmackDown comes on around 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, 7 p.m. Central. So if you're AEW and you know that show's 2 hours, you're going to want to make sure that you probably take advantage of that. You either want to be the jumping on point, which means you'd have to start around, 7 p.m. Eastern Pacific, 6 p.m. Central, or you can be that jumping on point that starts at 10 p.m. Pacific and Eastern and 9 p.m. Central, because you'd still be riding that momentum that SmackDown has. Those are the smart decisions that AEW should make, because you'd be bringing the audience of WWE right over to you, right after that show's done, or you'd be leading your audience over to watch WWE. You'd either go after or before, probably more likely after. But again, getting on point here, a lot of fans fear that, again, but getting back on point here, this is what a lot of fans fear, that AEW may not do that. They fear that Cody Rhodes may want to prove that he's a big star, that the WWE missed the boat on him by saying, by convincing people, let's put Tuesday Night Dynamite at 8 p.m. Pacific and Eastern right up against SmackDown. Just because he wants to prove a point. And what's going to happen is it's going to blow up in his face, and that's what people worry about. So on top of that as well, is the one thing that people really do worry about. And what they worry about, ladies and gentlemen, what they worry about is the position of power that all 4 members of the elite have. That's what they worry about. All 4 members are executive VPs. Now, DALYXMAN, Kyle Loves Wrestling, and many others have voiced a concern that this could lead to a backstage eternal problem as time goes on. Because the one thing I've mentioned, the one thing I talked about, was the fact that, you know, if you're Cody, that basically, if you're the Khan family, you want to make sure. Ooh, didn't want to do that. Now, anyway, again, like I said, you want to make sure that your investment isn't put in danger, isn't put at risk, because there's a couple of guys that want to prove that, or I should say, a couple of guys that want to be put on top. Basically, what I'm saying is a lot of fans are concerned that because Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, and the Bucks have this power, that backstage and internally, this could hurt AEW. Because they see what companies like WCW and many others have done, or they have seen what I'm trying to say. They have seen what's happened to a lot of companies that have gone this route. They have seen a lot of companies suffer eternally and even fall into obscurity, basically out of business, because they allowed people behind the scenes to have power that didn't need power, that shouldn't have been given that power. And that's what they worry about, because if that person that has the power is also an in-ring performer, then that puts a lot of concern in a lot of people's minds. Not just fans, but people that have been in the business, that have seen this happen. People that have reported on the business for decades and years and seen this happen. You see, what a lot of people are concerned about is All Elite Wrestling is signing all these people to contracts. Jericho. They're signing, like I say, Kylie Ray, Britt Baker. They have an agreement with the Lucha Brothers. Making all these partnerships become a reality. And what people worry about in the end, when it's all said and done, is it's going to be revealed, as I've mentioned before, that this AEW thing was nothing more than a vanity project, a self-serving ego project by Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, but mostly people will put the blame on Cody because he's been at the forefront of this. Basically, a self-serving ego project to kind of get back at the WWE for not giving him the opportunity. That's what people would look at. Now, a lot of people have said, hopefully Cody and the Bucks and Omega and those involved will make sure that doesn't happen, or will not allow that to happen. And I'm hoping that's true. I really do. And a lot of people as well do. But the concern is when you have 4 in-ring competitors as behind-the-scenes executives, basically executive VPs, vice presidents of an up-and-coming company, saying they want to change, with the model saying they want to change the world of wrestling. Everything may be coming up roses and smelling like everything may be coming up and smelling like roses right now, but what people fear is that eventually egos are going to clash. You can't tell me that Cody Rhodes doesn't have it in his mind to inevitably, if not eventually, be the first AEW World Heavyweight Champion. You can't tell me that Kenny Omega isn't thinking the same thing, that he should be the first champ. You can't tell me the Bucks don't want to be the inaugural tag champs. Now on paper, that might sound great because at least you have somewhat established names as the first champions. But to a lot of people, even if that is good on paper at first, that's going to worry a lot of people, because all this is really going to turn out to be, to those that would see that, to see those moments occur, it's basically just an ego trip. It's just an self-stroking ego project for Cody, the Bucks, Omega, and anybody. Basically for the Elite, the subdivision of the Bullet Club, if you will. That's what it would be. And a lot of people worry about it. They worry, and they have right to worry. Now, Kyle commented on the video I did, and he said hopefully that maybe these titles might be just for show. Like, maybe these are just titles for show and everything, and they won't really mean anything. But we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet, but if these titles mean anything, and they're all executive VPs, that's what concerns people. Because Cody, let's say Cody decides he wants to book himself to become the first inaugural champion. But Kenny Omega's like, well, wait a minute. I just beat Chris Jericho a second time. I want to be the champ. And then speaking of Chris is one of the biggest names they got right now. Chris may say, look, I'm the biggest name you got right now. And let's be honest, not everybody knows who you guys are. Despite social media and the internet and all that, I should be your first world champion. So, there's a lot to be concerned about when it comes to this company. Will it fall to the race side and become, obsolete, become just a footnote in history as another promotion that tried to go up against WWE but failed in the end because of a clashing of egos? That's what people worry about, and hopefully, as places like WhatCulture.com, What Culture Wrestling on YouTube, and others have reported, hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully, AEW, Cody, the Bucks, Omega, and the Khan family will learn from the past mistakes of other promotions and not let ego get in the way of anything else, and prove that this is going to be the promotion that finally steps up to the plate. And the best way I think they need to do that is to not name themselves or make themselves or book themselves as the first inaugural champions. They need to book certain individuals as the inaugural champions that you wouldn't see coming. That's what they need to do. If I want to somewhat shove it in WWE's face, you know what I do? I make Pac my first AEW champion. Okay? I make Pac my first AEW champion. I make SoCal Uncensored, or a team from OWE, or even the Lucha Brothers. I make one of them my first tag team champs. I make someone like Nyla Rose, I think that's her name, Nicole Rose, Nyla Rose, I think it's Nyla Rose. I make her my first women's champion. I do all that to prove to people that it's not about, it's not a self-stroking ego project. That's what I do. So, should fans be concerned of AEW going down the same path as other promotions that have started up in the past and have fallen by the wayside because they tried to be that next WCW, that new alternative to WWE, and try to compete with them? Yes, they should be concerned. Will that be the fate? Will that be the inevitable fate? Hopefully not, but we'll just have to wait and see. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. I'm going to get ready for work here. But let me know what you all think down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.